How many times have you walked out of a stakeholders meeting with your PRD, your roadmap, your priorities, questioned by objections that you should have anticipated? In this video, you will learn how to create your own stakeholder simulator using AI. By the end, you will be able to anticipate objections from the CFO, the VP of sales, and any difficult stakeholder before they hit you in the actual meeting. I'm Nacho Bassino, and every week I share how to use AI in product management practices. What is a typical situation? You spend weeks on a PRD, polished, documented. You walk into the meeting with a lot of confidence, and in the first 5 minutes, the CTO asks, "Did you consider the impact on technical debt?" The CFO maybe adds, "What's the ROI versus investing directly that money in marketing?" And then you see the VP of sales questioning, "How does this help me close deals this quarter?" You walk out of that meeting crushed, 2 more weeks to come back with answers that you should have had from the start. This alignment failure isn't about execution. Your discovery techniques aren't the problem. The problem is we don't anticipate the right objections. And there are reasons this happens to all of us. First of all, we don't put ourselves in each stakeholder's shoes. The CFO has their pressures, the VP of sales has theirs, and in our day-to-day rush, we can see the world from the other side. Plus, we have confirmation bias. When we fall in love with an idea, we filter out what contradicts it. And in cohesive teams, there is groupthink. Nobody wants to be the one who kills the idea, actually. The technique that helped me solve this comes from the military world, red teams. During the Cold War, armies created teams whose only job was to think like the adversary, not to attack, but to find vulnerabilities with how the team was thinking or preparing their solutions. In product, there are no adversaries. There are stakeholders who will bring their perspective by questioning your PRD. And to prepare for that, AI can be the perfect sparring partner. So how will you do it? First, create permanent custom agents, gems in Gemini, projects in Claude, or custom GPTs. The difference from loose prompts is huge. With a loose prompt, you have to write it again every time, quality varies, and you don't build memory. The custom agent has the personality encapsulated. You use it for PRDs, for roadmaps, for business cases, any artifact. I have created agents like the Red Team CFO, Red Team VP of Sales, and what I do is I configure them once and then reuse them to evaluate any artifact in 30 seconds. And while I do so, I also collect my understanding of that evaluation to improve the custom agent and add it more resources, more intelligence, and more of the personality of those adversaries as I move forward. Each agent also has a structure: role, personality, typical concerns, and expected output. For example, the CFO is usually skeptical but constructive, numbers-oriented, conscious of the opportunity cost. Their typical concerns: ROI, aggressive projections, what happens if we don't hit the target. Instead, the VP of sales has the same structure but with different things. It's deals-oriented, brings what customers ask for, skeptical of features that don't have a direct impact in revenue. Their concern is, how do I explain this in a sales call, more than the experience or the UI of the feature itself. So the process is simple. You complete the PRD as an input or any other artifact. You create these red teams per stakeholder, and they will execute the agent, and they will identify gaps and critical objections. With that, you can strengthen the PRD and prepare responses for those difficult conversations. Creating each stakeholder takes about 30 minutes, maybe 1 hour, and the objections it generates are the ones that will have come up in the real meeting, so you go better prepared for those questions and you have something to discuss and to share. So now I'm going to show you what this looks like in practice. We will use a real guided onboarding PRD and see what objections the CFO generates. We will explore how to create your red team in Gemini Gems. We have been using this before, but in case you want to get to the gem manager, you just kind of open to the left and go to gems here. And in here, what we will do is to create a new empty gem, and we will use the name and the prompt I will show in a second. So let's start with the CFO, and we will have these instructions. So you are the CFO, seed stage startup, Alex, why not? So we have a particular runaway, and we are preparing for Series A. This is the context of the company we are using for the example. You should, of course, tweak it to fit your own CFO perspective. So personality, skeptical but constructive. So we want them to kind of challenge, but in a positive way. Numbers oriented. Everything has to relate to measurable impact. Conscious of the opportunity cost. If I invest here, I do not invest elsewhere. And you think about the investor narrative. So very typical CFO, I would say. Of course, we can continue giving it more personality. If we have a real CFO, we can for sure have more ideas on how he or she thinks. So we can complete this. So we have, of course, typical concerns, like, for example, ROI of initiatives, trade-offs, timing. So all of those are the typical concerns that we have. And the action will be when the user shares an artifact, whatever artifact may be, the job is to read it and generate likely objections. I will actually change this to 1 to 5 because I don't want to generate random objections. I wanted to have freedom to think about the objections, and if there are only one, just one is enough. And for each objection, we want to have the questions, the real concern behind the question, and what the PM should do in order to respond well to this concern or question. So this is super useful for you to create your own answer when walking into potential meetings with the CFO. So we will have some style guidance, be direct, ask questions, acknowledge when something is well argued, and then the output is, hey, objection 1, question really concerned, what to respond well, and that should be enough for us to get some valuable feedback from the CFO. And we will use a simplified version of the PRD, copy-pasting it here, but of course you can attach it. That will be a more realistic case, but for the purpose of this demo, we'll just copy-paste. We want to give feedback on this PRD. Again, we can use a very simple prompt because all the instructions are already loaded in the gem. And we will give the PRD, which has some context. Of course, remember this is kind of the guided onboarding. So we have context, we have the problem we are talking about, we have some data points, we have some evidence of why this is important, the solution, the scope, the risk, and success metrics. So let's see what we generate. All right, we have an interesting answer. And for example, this one is the first objection, I think is quite critical and very interesting and very CFO oriented. We only have 50 active users right now. Before we commit expensive engineer days to build a wizard, why can't we just manually onboard the next 50 users? So again, you can see here that is a problem of saying, okay, do we need to invest at this point in this feature? So the concern is that the ROI of building this automation is simply not going to add up because it's too early, because we don't have enough people going through the pipeline. So to respond well, you need to explain why manual onboarding is unscalable even at this stage. Objection 2, you are forecasting a jump from 35 to 60% activation. That's a massive, nearly 2x improvement from a single UI change. If we build this and activation only reaches up 40%, does the investment still make sense? So yeah, again, the concern here is that the projection is too aggressive or overly optimistic. So we may need to work on that. All right, I hope you see that. The simulated CFO asking me things I haven't considered, the aggressive projections, the manual onboarding alternative, the risk of frustrating power users, questions that would have appeared in the real meeting. So if this is helping you, hit the subscribe for more practical product content. And summarizing what we saw today, first of all, red teams means simulating adversarial stakeholders before the real meeting. We created custom agents per stakeholder, CFO, VP of Sales, CTO, with specific personality and concerns. And then we execute this loop, PRD, objections, strengthen PRD, and prepare responses. I wrote an article with the complete CFO prompt, so you can copy paste it and add it to your context, and the link is below in the description.